Hello everybody, welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today, I will be listing my top 5 Mysterio stories, and I hope you enjoy. As you can tell by the title, I am going to list the very best Mysterio stories that have ever come out. Mysterio is my favorite Spider-Man villain, and my favorite Marvel comic villain ever. I decided to make a top 5 list, like the YouTuber Gotham Rogues, because it is easier, and Mysterio, Quentin Beck, and the other two main ones have very little Mysterio-centric stories. In this list, there will be no Sinister Six stories or any groups that Mysterio is in on this list. But fun fact, did you know that Mysterio is the one who named the Sinister Six the Sinister Six? Personally, I think we really need Mysterio in a Spider-Man movie or in Daredevil Season 4 on Netflix. I also almost did all Quentin Beck Mysterio stories, but the list wouldn't have changed much if I included the other two in the list. Also, the comics won't be as in-depth as my comic reviews on the channel. I will do one for each story or issue separately. So, on with the review. Number 5, The Madness of Mysterio, To Squash a Spider. Published in Amazing Spiderman Issues 66 and 67, this was the first time Mysterio grew to the size of a giant using his illusions, and threatened the entire city, challenging Spider-Man. The standout moments of Mysterio start here, him growing into a giant and using deadly props to attack Spider-Man. This is a fun Spider-Man vs. Mysterio story, and probably the best from the Stan Lee Steve Ditko / Joan Romita era. There's not much having to do with Quentin Beck, except his escape from prison, and now he has trouble finding Spider-Man and wanting to destroy him. This story also wraps up a lot of loose ends from the previous issues when it comes to Peter Parker's life. Number 4. The man's name appears to be Mysterio, Dead Man's Bluff. Appearing in Amazing Spider-Man issue 141 and 142, it was the long-awaited return of the Master of Illusions. After 7 years, it appears that Quentin Beck has returned to annoy our favorite webhead. This was the newest Mysterio story after number 5, and Mysterio definitely returned with a bang. In the story, it seems like he is brought back and teamed up with a bunch of other Spider-Man villains to destroy him once and for all. Then, after fighting off a bunch of illusions, it's revealed to him that the Mysterio must have been fake or a ghost. It was actually a brand new Mysterio, Daniel Beckhart, the second Mysterio. This was the first time there was an imposter that wasn't Quentin Beck underneath the Mysterio outfit, and it makes Mysterio a bigger threat to Spider-Man than ever before. Daniel attacked Spider-Man because he felt that he owed Quentin Beck to death for Spider-Man after he died in prison. This is a story that stands out to me when it comes to Mysterio because it shows the power of illusion really well, and that anyone can learn how to use this technology and fight Spider-Man with it. For me, because Quentin Beck is the best Mysterio, but he uses mostly the same gadgets as the second one did, it brings up a question: is it the man or the suit? Which seems to be a common theme for Marvel characters like Iron Man. Number 3. Media Blizzard. Published in the first issue of Sensational Spider-Man, Amazing Spiderman Issue 408, and Spider-Man Issue 65, this, in my opinion, is the greatest Francis Clum Mysterio story ever, the third Mysterio, and it is a great idea of why many people think Mysterio would be such a perfect movie villain. The first part comic cover is my channel icon, I'm just saying. During this time, it isn't Peter Parker under the mask, but Ben Reilly, the previous Scarlet Spider, Spider-Man's most famous clone starring. It stars the third Mysterio, Francis Clum, and he isn't in it much, but it is the concept of what Mysterio does in the story, which is so perfect. Mysterio sets up a TV show and uses a new computer chip so that everyone is hypnotized and has to watch it. On the show, Mysterio sends illusions and a forgotten Spider-Man rogue, Armada, to attack him on the show. Mysterio making a TV show and making everyone watch it is a perfect Mysterio story for a movie. Mysterio is always shown as a loving special effects in movies and wanting to work with them. This story it actually happens for him in spades. I have a feeling it would have been better for a Quentin Beck story, but this is still one of my favorite Mysterio stories ever. Number 2. I Hate a Mystery. Another three-parter published in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issues 11 through 13. This Mysterio story is a great look back at Spider-Man vs. Mysterio's history throughout the decades. And it is not just a good Mysterio story, but a great Spider-Man Peter Parker story as well. This story takes place after Civil War, where everyone now knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and now Peter Parker is a school teacher. This story starts with the third Mysterio in a more classic uniform like Quentin Beck had, returning and going after Peter Parker while he's teaching in school. The story starts with protests of people wanting Spider-Man to stop working at school. Suddenly, a mysterious green smoke goes over the school that knocks everybody outside it unconscious. Now, it's time for Spider-Man to get everyone out of school safely and stop Mysterio from whatever he's planning. Mysterio is a villain who mostly relies on special gadgets to help him out. And this comic actually uses them and has very unique traps for Spider-Man and the schoolmates to face. This is also the comic in which Quentin Beck returns after being presumed dead. Again, this is after Daredevil Volume 2, issues 1 through 8, which, spoiler, isn't on this list. It was a great Mysterio story, with all three previous Mysterios joining in on the event. It provides personality differences between the three also, which is something I really like, because all three of them have the same gimmick. And now for the best Mysterio story ever to come out. Number 1. As Dreams Are Made On. Published in January through March 1999, the first 3 issues of Web Spinner's Tales of Spider-Man are some of my favorite Spider-Man stories ever told, and having Mysterio as the main bad guy makes it a match made in heaven. Written by J.M. Mattis and penciled by John Romita Sr., this is a perfect fit and homage not just to Spider-Man stories at the time, but a great example of how to include missed plots that passed by decades ago. In the story, it starts off with the ending of Amazing Spiderman Issue 38, Just a Man Named Joe, which was the last Spider-Man comic Steve Ditko ever worked on. The story starts at the night that comic ended. Joe Smith got fame from the battle, and Spider-Man got nothing. Classic Spider-Man style. At this time, Peter still lives with Aunt May and has a crush on Gwen Stacy, and Peter being a bookworm is definitely referenced here. Also, this is about 4 issues before Mary Jane ever premiered into the comics. Anyway, not going to a party like Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker goes to an old movie where it's only him and one other man watching it. That other man is none other than Quentin Beck, otherwise known as Mysterio. During this time, Mysterio has only fought Spider-Man 3 times, one by himself, one with the Sinister Six, and one time without his costume. Now, Mysterio is alone and looking for any work, especially in his passion, the movies. He decides to travel to where he grew up in an apartment. Looking back, it is revealed that Quentin always had an interest in special effects, like Godzilla, but his father would always destroy his toys and prevent Quentin from living in his own little world. He also is shown not to have grown up with a mother. After Beck and Peter leave the movie, Beck sees that he has nothing without Mysterio, that Quentin Beck would have been forgotten if not for his imagination. If not for Mysterio, for that, he decided to go after J. Jonah Jameson and get revenge on Spider-Man at the same time. There was a lot of great moments in this comic, and out of the 5 stories on this list, I think that this is one of the least read Spider-Man stories on here, which is a shame. It provides the most insight into Mysterio as a regular citizen, and continues the Stan Lee Steve Ditko Spider-Man adventure. This comic is told by Peter Parker, who, in reminiscing about different times in his life, looks back at the unseen battles that are memorable to him. It is a very cinematic story also, and can be made into little movie scenes easily, which is definitely fitting for a Mysterio story. Mysterio always uses a lot of special effects and gimmicks that are the staple of his character here. It's really explored here, and actually explains why and how Mysterio has everything set up. I'm definitely going to review just this comic some other time, so stay subscribed for that. So, those were some of the greatest Mysterio stories ever told, in my opinion. Please tell me what you thought down below, and make your own list in the comments. This is a relatively new and small channel, and any likes and subs I would really appreciate. Like always, bye guys, and have a good day.